Alrighty. Welcome back to the Red and Black Wrestling. We have joined with us two very special guests. We have Julian Ramirez and Sal Jones from the Cornell Big Red. Thank you guys so much for coming, taking out, uh, assuming busy schedule that you guys have. So thank you so much for taking the time out to join us for this afternoon.
Of course, thank you for having us. Yep, thank you.
Of course, of course. So getting started right away. Very big news that you guys announced over the past week, your own club that you guys are opening up. We got the banner right behind you guys for those who haven't seen. They just launched Frog Empire Wrestling Academy, which I believe is a subsidiary to Empire Wrestling Academy, just based in Ithaca, correct?
Yeah. So I can go more into detail about that if you'd like, but basically I just randomly asked Sal probably a month and a half ago, hey, if I were to open up a club, would you want to help me? Because like I'm still focusing on my RTC career and I'm also helping out Cornell with the gap year guys. But he was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then like, us being like still freshly out of college, like we didn't talk about it again for like 2 weeks. But then I randomly got a call from Empire asking if I had any interest of opening up a club. And from then on, we just ran with it and called him back. And now that was July like 10th or something. And here we are. So,
Oh, wow. It's kind of like when you make plans in the group chat, like, you send the text. Usually it doesn't happen for, like you said, usually a year or two. Then the guys get together and the plans finally make it out the group chat.
yeah,
So it's kind of nice to see, talk come into full plans, getting everything going, because starting something like a club is no easy feat. There's a lot of things that get brought into that. So the fact that you were able to kind of get that all going, having the resources and the help to get Frog Empire going is truly outstanding. And I know for Sal, your New York State legend, had an outstanding in-state career. Um, did you always know that you wanted to stay in New York? Did you ever want to possibly venture outside of New York for a coaching career? And for Julian, spending some years in Tampa Jesuit and Blair Academy, was there ever a possibility for you to maybe go, maybe I want to take my coaching back home, or staying in those 4 years in Cornell, falling in love with the New York wrestling? Hey, I want to develop some talent here.
I could start. Yeah, I always wanted to open up a club in Ithaca, especially my first year after graduating, but it didn't work out. And then I moved out towards Utica area and was a coach there. I do eventually want to move out of New York, but that's way out in the future. So yeah, I honestly grew up going to Finger Lakes Wrestling Club, which was like the Frog Empire before the Frog Empire in Ithaca. So it's just a nice, throwback to have the club back in Ithaca and to grow Section 4 wrestling again.
Almost bringing it full circle, right?
Yep.
yeah. So that's kind of where it leads into me is I was definitely planning on leaving New York at some point. But who knows when that'll be. Realistically, I chose to come back for the RTC program and to help out with the gap year guys because I bleed red. I love Cornell wrestling. Um, and this just kind of like was something I put on the back burner, something I had thought about in the past, and I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. But it was like I always had the idea of like we're right here in Section 4 where Kyle Dake was born and Yanni's 2 hours up the road, and they're both two Cornell legends, but
Right.
we have no club in Section 4. So I was like, that's kind of odd. And then to add into that factor, it's just like having my involvement with Cornell wrestling. Like Sal and I will be the main faces of each day in practice, but if Myron Shapiro or Simon Ruiz or even a gap year guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, like I need some help. Can I come over and run the club?" Go ahead, you run the club for the night. Add them onto the website. Now they're easily available for privates and stuff. So it's kind of something that like I had thought about for a while, but I just like, just getting out of college, like you said, opening up a club is not really something you'd want to do. Like it's like there's a lot of things that go into it.
Right.
And
A lot
I
of
did want to
factors.
do it, but it was because it was just gonna be something that's gonna take some time, some actual thought process. But having Empire behind us really helps a lot. And to answer your question, would I have ever moved back to Florida? I would love to help grow the sport of wrestling in Florida. That's a huge goal of mine. but I kind of want to coach college for some time. So as long as like I'm somewhere involved with college wrestling, it's probably not going to be anywhere in the Southeast unless God willing my I can open up a program down there. But
And, speaking of Empire too, they're kind of having their own kind of like flow as well, with Frog Empire seemingly being like a flow for the Big Red and the Cornell guys. Empire's getting a bunch of like Iowa and Penn State guys, so kind of bringing like that college level training to the high school rooms is so crucial for not only growing the sport of wrestling, but I feel also for their development as well.
okay.
So, especially with a lot of the competitions in the New York State for clubs, and I even have wrestlers who come up to me and they go, what club should I go look for, what club fits me? And back in the day, the club that you went to was the local club that you had in your township. It wasn't really like the name of the club that had all these great coaches. There were a few, but there were far and few in between. So, what would you say for those guys who are still looking for clubs to compete under? Why choose Frog Academy? I mean, Frog Empire.
It's the aspect that you have your two coaches, Julian and I, and then you also have every Cornell wrestler if they want to come into the room. So you're not only just going to be learning from Julian and I, you're going to have so many different styles you can learn from and take from and include into your own style. And you obviously heard Cornell's slogan, family not factory. It's going to be the same thing here, right? Everyone's going to be a brother and a sister to each other. If anyone needs help before, after, or not even during practice, we're going to step in and help each other. And so it's not just going to be a wrestling club, it's going to be a community for Finger Lakes area.
I couldn't answer that better, but just to add to that factor, it's like we don't just have Cornell right here. We have two D3 programs that are pretty respectable in their own factor, Ithaca College and Cortland, that are both within 30 minutes. We have Binghamton an hour away. Like, and I have connections to all three of those schools. It's like eventually, like maybe not the first 2 months while we're kicking off, but I want to take from them too. Like the more eyes you can have on you while you're growing in this sport, the better. To say anyone fits in one mold is incorrect. So it's like, you're going to have 40 Cornell, 50 Cornell wrestlers, our coaches coming in, Binghamton may be coming in, Cortland, Ithaca College. Now you have a kid who can get recruited by four different schools at four different locations, So it's like that also attracts the eye. I would want my kid to go to that club.
Mhm.
100%, understanding that it's not such a linear path, that there's so many doors available for you to choose from, like you said, not fitting one specific mold, but developing your own and being your own person and
Mhm.
ultimately having your own path to choose from. And obviously there's people to guide you, but those decisions are made by yourself and not made for you. Um, and like you said, having a bunch of access to different collegiate programs, both D1 and D3, Cortland and Ithaca colleges, which both have outstanding programs in their own right. Um, what would your advice be for people who are still looking to kind of get their foot in the door to these programs, looking for that attention to kind of get to that next level and compete at the collegiate level?
Yeah, well, that's kind of something I tell kids a lot when I go to camps is like there was like, oh, so like how can I get myself seed by college coaches? And it's like, well, for one, like you have to compete at the national level. Like just competing at the state level is not going to get you to where you want to be. You have to get the coaches to, you have to go to where the coaches are. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, sometimes the coaches are at New York States or at Florida States, but to say that there's a lot there, it would be a lie. And as well as just like get a big thing with getting recruited by coaches is having a personal relationship with them. There are plenty of kids who create personal relationships with coaches and it opens up doors for them. So it's just like being in the room where you have not only the athletes, but the coaches as well looking at you and coming in here and running practice. And they're like, oh, this kid's pretty good. Like, let me see his transcript. Right there, that's an opportunity you didn't have before. Because even if you're at a tournament, it's like unless you randomly stumble upon the coach or like he ends up emailing you, it's going to be pretty hard for you to just get that opportunity.
100%. And something that you mentioned is something that I always try to bring up to the kids, like when coaches are interested in you, like you said, what do they say? Let me see your transcript. A lot of athletes think that as long as you're performing on the mat, you will be okay. But they also have to understand that off the mat, you need to kind of be on par as well. And something like Frog Empire that offers not only Ivy League level wrestling, but Ivy League level coaching off the mat as well is something that a lot of these kids should be able to kind of consider as an eye opener. As, oh wow, this is something that I should almost want to be a sponge towards and absorb this information, because not a lot of clubs have Ivy League level or caliber wrestlers or coaches on their staff, which is something that is even a bigger pull towards this new club that you guys have opened.
100%. And that's something that Sal and I, like, we take pride in, having our parents the way they are. Like, we plan on making this club where it's like you're not just being a wrestler. Like, we want you to practice cleaning, taking care of yourself, going to class, getting good grades, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. But it's like people always talk about they want to hire a wrestler before they hire someone who's any other walk of life. Like coming from the Ivy League, I literally hear that all the time from whatever investment banking company you want to talk about. So it's like, why is that a thing? And it's because the really good clubs are not just producing good wrestlers, but they're producing good people. And that's something that we want to really take with us.
100%. And definitely developing good people off the mat as well, having that great culture, not only like in there, but developing as well, because that starts with the coaches in the room before it translates to the athletes. It's
100%.
what they indoctrinate to their wrestlers, because that will correlate into what they do on the mat as well. Um, Before we start to wrap things up here, what are some things you want to say to the people at home?
Just thank you for this opportunity, first of all, Daniel.
Of
It's a
course, of
pleasure
course.
to be on here. And second, keep your minds open, right? It may not be the first day might not be the best day for you, right? Everyone has bad days, everyone has bad practice, right? Just keep your head up and keep pushing forward, right? Wrestling is not a sport where every day is going to be sunshine and rainbows. You're going to have days where you get beat up, where you feel down about yourself. Just know that every wrestler, doesn't matter if they're Olympic champ or they're just starting out, right? Every wrestler goes through that process where they have to figure out where I have to find that extra drive and just keep going. Right. So it's kind of that same thing, not just in wrestling, but in life. And like what Julian was just talking about. And we don't want to just make good wrestlers, right? We want good men and women that college coaches want to be on the team, right? That job interviewers are looking for, right? We're not just looking for someone that shows up on time and does what they have to do. They want to do the extra work. They want to put extra work in, right? Maybe cleaning mats after practice or before, right? Bring in some toilet paper if you see we're running out, right? Just stuff like that. Stuff that connects and builds that relationship with your coach and family and friends.
And I would like to second what he started with is thank you, Danny, for having us. It means a lot. And thank you to Empire Wrestling 100%. We like not to say I couldn't have done this with you, but I could not have started this anytime soon with you
Yeah.
without you. So
Second that.
thank you for that. And then thank you for Cornell Wrestling. Thank you to everyone back at home. And then um no, it starts with the leadership.
Right.
So we can't just try and say this is what we want out of our program and how we want to have kids grow up. We have to actually exemplify that ourselves. And that's one of the biggest reasons I chose Sal. Out of all my friends, he is one of the best people I know, and I know that we're going to be able to do this together.
100%. And like I said, thank you guys so much, because I know that you guys have a bunch of stuff going on in your own personal lives, like I said, getting the club up and running. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to, join us on the podcast, talk about the new club and everything like that. We really appreciate it as well. So we thank you guys.
All righty. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Of course. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe.
Yep.
Thank you.